we'll go ahead and get started. I'm probably the teacher in me, but I wanted to start off today's meeting and probably any other one I do with a quote, just to kind of get the little positive energy going. But it's one that I think we probably all need to hear right now. Collaboration is a key part of success of any organization executed through a clearly defined vision and mission and based on transparency and constant communication. We'll go ahead first and we'll head towards the approval of the minutes. We do have two separate sets of minutes. The first one with the staple on it, that's from the August 29th meeting. And if you'll flip the amended ones, it says it at the top. Katrina has it labeled up here for us where you'll see the amended version. So, if you guys need to take a second to look over those or, pose any questions for it, we'll give you that now. And if I'm not talking loud enough, just tell me, not hurt my feelings, so.
Mine says November 9th. You said August 27th.
Oh,
Yeah, I have August and November. I don't have the June.
November, August.
I got January.
I can elaborate on those.
Thank you.
So the meeting that was on, it was a subcommittee meeting on August the 29th. That's the first one. The minutes were approved on November the 9th, and there was an error on the date. The date of the minutes should have read August the 29th. Instead, they said August the 9th. So that is the amendment. If you look
Okay.
at the very last page of the amended minutes, you'll see underlined exactly what was changed.
Okay. What about the June minutes that were supposed to have amendments?
So that was amended at the last meeting on Mr. Culpepper.
January, it was,
Yes.
right, it was asked in January, but we should have had them for this meeting, correct?
No, he did it last meeting, on the 18th,
Okay.
Raymond.
Sorry, Julie.
So again, the only thing that we will be amending on the minutes is the actual date. Instead of August the 9th, it is August the 29th. And we will need a motion.
Do we have a motion?
A motion. That's fine.
Second.
I'll second.
All in favor?
I need each person to raise their hand. All in favor? Okay. Any opposed?
The next set of minutes that we'll need for approval are the January 18th. It's just a single sheet front and back.
Yeah.
Give everybody a second to look over those.
I was absent for that meeting, so I'm gonna excuse myself from motion on that.
Same here.
Yeah, no, I have that one. Okay. Thank
Everybody's
you.
had time to look over. Does anybody motion?
We're looking at November 9th, correct?
January
18th, I'm
18th.
sorry. That was the second set.
Yeah, okay.
Just one immediate correction, Katrina.
Thank you so much.
The word minutes in the first paragraph,
Where is that, Jim?
in bold, the first word,
At the top?
first word in your approval of the minutes, 613.
I got you.
Katrina, just one more on the last page. Paragraph from the last, Georgia Department of Agriculture. You have it as George.
I got you.
have a motion? Okay. No rushing about it.
So I make a motion that we accept the minutes with the necessary corrections.
Okay. You have a second?
A second.
All in favor?
Uh-huh.
I can't go.
Yeah, they-
Laura. All in favor?
Oh,
Okay.
sorry, I seconded it, so it's implied.
Joshua,
So that takes care of the approval of minutes. Next up, we have the monthly reports from 12/23 to 1/24. If there are any questions, we can direct that to Ms. Johnson. One thing Courtney and I were asking about, we actually asked Ms. Katrina for clarification on the calls received. Down here, that's literally any call that, even I guess if it was a wrong number that called, or just asking, are you open? So that's why that number is such a high number. That was Courtney's eye that caught that. I want to take credit for it.
Sorry, Robbie caught the adopted numbers from January to December being about the same, but the monies being different. And she explained how.
Okay.
Go ahead.
They're having trouble hearing, and that was I'll speak up on what I was just saying. This right here, the calls received, it's a pretty high number, and that's because that's any incoming call into animal control, even if it's just to ask if they're open. So, just make sure we're speaking loud enough so everybody can hear.
Yes, it is.
What was your thing you were saying, Jen? I'm sorry.
No, you're fine. No, Robbie had a question about the adopted numbers, where they're similar, but the monies was allocated differently. And Katrina explained how it was the Bissell campaign in December that was taking place, and that's why the monies were different.
Okay, thank you. Does anybody else have any questions about the monthly reports? Can we need another minute, or y'all good?
Good.
Okay. The next item we have are the final bylaws, and I did get clarification early on this. Today is, everything has been approved. Today is just the actual distribution of these. So as of today now, these are in effect. So moving forward, if, one thing we noted today is if we didn't have 5 people here, we could technically have the meeting just through a virtual option. So if somebody wasn't feeling well, we wouldn't have to cancel the meeting. They could be on a conference call or something. So that's a nice option to have. Just make sure you put those in your easy reading. The next item we have is a co-chairperson appointment. And I talked to Nancy and Ms. Anderson, and she said that she would be willing to do it. Thought that'd be great. We have somebody new to the board who, you know, your term's not ending, and that's a nice kind of swap over. And she said that she would gladly take the, I don't know if she said gladly, but she said she would.
On the inside, she felt it.
So thank you, Nancy, for that. And do we have a motion to approve?
I make a motion to approve Nancy Anderson as co-chair.
And I will second.
All in favor? What, sorry, Ms.
Aye.
Katrina.
Raise them high.
Okay.
It's as good as you get.
Again, thank you, Nancy. That's. The next item we have on here, I put myself on here, and I didn't really, I'm still learning some of this, but whether I needed to officially be on here or not. But moving forward, something we had talked about that would be really nice is to have a line item for, you know, I've always called it citizen concerns, but the more and more I think about it, concerns is such a, it just automatically starts the conversation off in a negative light. So we talked about, you know, citizens' feedback, citizens' corner was mentioned, but something that stays on the agenda. Because with the advisory board, we have, you know, sometimes somebody might know you, so they reach out to you about a concern, or, you know, they don't know, they see where there's a list of advisory board members, so they just send it to the chair. But that way, everybody, and we wouldn't have to worry about like today where you were worried about
Right.
getting on the agenda.
Yeah.
But then we'll just kind of add that as a line item, so that could always be something that's kind of open for sharing. I wasn't ready, Courtney said she prepared me, but she didn't, for the amount of, when you're chair, the amount of, you know, concerns and feedback that you will get. So one thing that I tried to do a little bit differently, because you know, feedback is good, y'all. It is. It really is. And but I can only speak for how I feel. And if the only feedback I ever get is you could do better at this, you could do better at this, you could do better at this, I eventually shut down. Now, I know some of y'all are probably better than that, and you don't, you just take it and roll. So what I asked from the citizens who were sharing feedback is, I'm going to take the concern you have, can you tell me something positive that you see CACC doing? Not perfect, I didn't ask for perfect, I just asked for something in the right direction. So I figured that would be a nicer way to maybe start our citizens' feedback off with some things that are being done better, you know, than just hitting with concerns. So a couple of things I got were the shelter software. The new one is Animals First. And the feedback I got from that was that this person was very excited about it, that it's going to make shelter operations easier, and it will free up the employees to do other things within the shelter that, you know, taking care of the dogs or helping with adoptions, whatnot. One thing I really appreciated from this person was they pointed out it wasn't the software they would have picked, but they appreciated the fact we had none. We had Lotus Notes, you know, that there's actual shelter software being used. So I really I thought that was good feedback. That it's not always the way we want it, but positive growth is positive growth. Another one I got were the year-to-date numbers compared to last year, specifically the adoptions and the RTOs were better, like significantly better. And, you know, I know we have amazing volunteers in here that all the off-sites you guys do and everything. So I thought that was cool. Talked to Courtney, sorry, I called you on that, but that the field officers are working more with Paul's outreach. So if they're out in the field, if something's happening that they're, you know, instead of just saying, here's your 10 days to correct, good luck, that they are actually having that collaboration with Paul's. That the stats are being posted in a more timely manner. Whether we always like the stats or not, but that they're being posted in a more timely manner, and that helps tremendously with some transparency. It allows stuff to be looked at a, you know, sooner than later date. That was that. One of the questions, I'm going to mention it even though the answer's already there, just because if I tell somebody I'm going to do something, I try to do it. There were several requests about when the website would be, the website being down, the timeline on when that would be back up. I know it is back up since the request was sent to me, but that was one, so it was technically answered when the website was up. Another one, and I'm gonna say this one, and then I'm gonna let Ms. Johnson take this one over. But the update from the 11/9/23, James Barber from UGA, it was in reference to the ordinance updating, and this citizen was just asking if there was some type of update from that are the talks still there? Is it moving forward, or is it something that's just kind of been, sometimes things just don't pan out?
Right.
So they asked for an update on that.
Okay, so with that, it was a conversation, and just to bring everyone up to speed that may not have been at the meeting, James Barber is a professor at UGA that I had the opportunity of meeting while I was at a conference. And one of the things that he does is he is the professor for upcoming attorneys. And one of the projects that they take on is the review and rewriting of ordinances here in the state of Georgia. They have worked with Forsyth County, being one of the ones they're currently working with, and he offered that same assistance to me or to us here in Columbus. And so I brought that forward to the board to let them know that there is a resource that we can use to help revisit our ordinances and bring them to a more current light. And that is still in the talks. I told him that I would follow back up because I really wanted the advisory board to be the group of people they work with, not just CACC. And the reason why is because that's how they have generally worked in other counties. And so with that being said, I would like our conversations to begin much sooner than later about bringing him in to talk with the board about what resources they can offer, and then we began to collaborate on working with him to see some changes with our legislative here in Columbus.
So just to make sure I got that right, you're still in communication with Mr. Barber, and there's a possibility of him presenting to the board about ordinances?
Right, he just needs to know when we would like for him to come.
Okay. Is that something that maybe after presenting, we would need to do a subcommittee on, or I don't want to put the cart before the horse on anything, so would we just do the presenting first and see how that worked out?
Well, that was my thought process, is that we would listen to what they have to offer, and then the board would decide where we want to go from there.
So there could be a possible subcommittee from that,
Correct.
and that's over ordinances. There was also, and is there any kind of update from seeking donors for noise barriers? And I don't know, I remember this conversation, but I feel like it was a long time ago. But do y'all remember one point we talked about the spay and neuter signs on garbage trucks? And it was a while back, but I remember it you might not even been here then.
She wasn't here.
Yeah, but they were just asking on some updates from some older business that we had discussed. I think probably the noise barriers are more important than the other, but that was just two of the things that were on the email.
Yeah, I'd sent you a link to a company that makes them, and I gotta find the printout that I have. I'm one of those people that prints out the internet, I know, but I'll bring it by and give it to you and give you a little bit more information what they're doing. But I still haven't heard back from them and find out a site that I could find out how effective they were, because I would rather know that than just have money spent on it.
Right. And I was going to say, I remember there being a site, but you were going to follow back up
Yeah.
with some information for me. So
Yeah,
as far as the barriers are concerned, that's still
Okay, but that is still
Is that the baffling?
the
Right,
baffle.
right.
Mhm.
so that's still something that's being worked on.
I believe Robbie is taking the lead on that.
Thank you.
Not today.
One of the, and I don't think I would put that on there, one of the things somebody had asked about was just doing some stuff around the outside and cleaning up some stuff. And we actually talked today about our students, our CBI students are going to do some spring sprucing up around paws and animal control. So if there's anybody who has questions on just that type of stuff, hopefully here in the near future, we'll be doing that. Let me see. One was Citizen Stray Hold Program that, good program, great idea, but there was some confusion with the procedures for the citizens to fully understand what they are doing, for how long, et cetera. And I don't know if you want to speak on that at all. It's not really a question, but that was just an area of concern, is that having something in place where it's a little bit more detailed in explaining to people that process and how it works and stuff like that.
Okay.
Which you and I know through the email, I mean, I even had a question on that, but it was from a different citizen as well.
Well, we could definitely, the Citizen Stray Hold, of course, has been in place, coming on a year now. And there are some confusions, I guess. So one of the things I was looking at doing is placing that information on our website, so that it is part of our FAQs, so that if there are any questions, they can definitely go there for those frequently asked questions, but more so a detailed, where, you know, the idea and then what we're trying to accomplish with that.
Okay.
Do you have a written protocol?
Yes,
For-
we do.
Would that be something, would you be okay with sending that out to the advisory board? Would you mind? Just
Yeah, I
because
can.
sometimes there'll be questions, you know, if somebody found a dog on a, I don't know, Sunday night or whatever, and they'll reach out, I mean, Facebook message, what do I need to do with, you know, and just maybe something to say, this is what, but if you commit to doing this Citizen Stray Hold, then
These are the
this is what you have
expectations.
signed up for. You know, this is what CACC will be responsible for. This is what you will be. And if you know, you can't fulfill that, then we just got to bring them on in. Okay.
Well, let me say this too. With the Citizen Stray Hold, we have to have the animal come in so we can give vaccinations. We can take the pictures of that animal so we can post it as if it was in the facility. So the stray hold is the same stray hold as if you were to bring it to the facility and we have to keep it. This particular program was created so that we could slow some of the intake down for CACC. And so the same parameters that exist when they're in the facility is the same when they're outside. We have to see the animal, give the vaccinations, and then you'll keep them for the 5 days. Now, if you wish to adopt the animal after the 5 days in the event that no one has claimed to be the owner of it, then you have that option, first option. And then you'll get that, that's the next steps on that. But yes, we will definitely.
So would they have would dogs on the Citizen Stray Hold, would they actually have like a tag number like dogs in the building, like an identifying?
They are identified as Citizen Stray Hold, CSHP.
Okay, because I had one person, they were stressed because they didn't know what it was I think it might have been two of the first ones that were, one of the first two cases where the Citizen Stray Hold was done, and the citizen I was talking to was like, we didn't ever know what happened to that dog, and I said, well, oddly enough, one of my coworkers adopted it, but I didn't, you know, so I think if they knew how they're identified, then they wouldn't just think they poofed or, you know.
So I just had a quick question.
Yeah,
To
sorry.
kind of go, no, not at all, to go off your back. When the puppy came in from the nutrition center place, and she had no idea what to do with that dog. She was told basically that it was going to be a stray hold, but she had no information. She wasn't given a tag number. She wasn't given anything. There were no vaccinations given. There was nothing given to that puppy. So what in that case happens? And then she ended up ultimately, I believe, giving the dog away to somebody else. So the dog's no longer anywhere, correct?
So if I'm not mistaken, that's a Saturday you're speaking of.
Correct.
That particular animal didn't actually come into the building at all. I actually worked that weekend, and I worked one weekend a month. So that particular weekend, I can tell you, I never saw the animal. It never came into the building. So the conversation she had was with an employee she asked questions.
Okay.
I don't know the conversation, I didn't hear it.
Right.
But a lot of times, what I can tell you, what does happen is people say, well, I'll just keep and try to find it, and if I can't find an owner or the owner, I'll bring it back. And so, again, I don't know the specifics, but I
Right.
can tell you it never came in the building. And when it doesn't come in the building and our citizens elect just to keep it until they can find an owner, if that's what they prefer to do, that's fine, because we haven't processed that animal in.
Right, okay. Sorry to
No, no, thank you. No. One of the other was with the website being up and stuff, and the adoptable dogs that are up and ready to go, that there were still some that were up for adoption, but there weren't any pictures on there. So I don't know if that's,
You okay?
Generally, and we do ask in the past that allow us 24 to 48 hours to get those pictures up. If for some reason they're not up there, we definitely do our best, especially with our volunteers. Cannot thank them enough. I can tell you with the introduction of the new software, our officers are now able to take pictures and immediately put those animals on the website immediately. Because real time. So as soon as they take them in, they'll be under our recent intakes. They could not even be in the building, but they will have that mobile ability to post them. And if someone sees that their animal has been picked up, they can definitely make arrangements. So that will be changing in the very, very near future, where those animals are immediately posted, and they will be done so by our field officers.
Are the citizen stray hold dogs put on the website as well?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
I think that was all I had. I want to just make sure I open the floor for any other board members who've had any citizen feedback. If you've had any that, you need to share or would like to share.
Yes, I do, if you don't mind.
No, ma'am.
Okay. So I did receive a message last night in regards to the euthanasia that was done on a dog, and it was stated medical emergency rabies. Where was that dog sent to, and when was it, and why was there no ID tag numbers listed with any of the euthanasia lists that just came in on the report?
I'm not familiar with that. I would have to have the specifics.
Okay, here, show you.
Well, let me say this.
Uh-huh.
I don't have any of the information. What I would have to say is I'll have to defer and get back to the office to get the specifics on that animal. I have a good memory of most of them, but I don't always recall them right away.
Okay.
Anybody else?
Yeah. The date was 3/1/24, if you want to reference that.
I'm not gonna know. I'm not gonna know. I'll have to get back to you.
Okay.
We good to move on? Okay.
No, the other thing I wanted
yeah,
to bring
I'm
up
sorry.
too. No, I'm sorry for you.
You said the intake
Sorry.
date for that dog was 3/1?
No, there's no intake date. That's
So what's the date that you're
3/1. Hold on one
I
second, I'm
guess
sorry.
maybe I'll have to.
Yeah, the euthanization date was
Okay,
3/1/24.
that's what I want to clarify.
Yeah. There's no intake dates on them,
Okay.
and there's no log ID numbers to verify which dog was euthanized at that time frame. And again, no tranquilizer used on any of these dogs. And then the medical emergency was listed as rabies. But I know that that has to be done in a specific way and then sent out to be tested before it can be verified that it was a rabies case.
So we need to verify that
Correct,
information first.
yes. That's on, the 3/1 was the euthanization
Okay.
date, okay.
Just wanted to clarify that date so we
Yeah,
know what to look it up
thank
as.
you. And then the other thing was, on some of the records that I've been receiving, I've noticed, like on a lot of the dogs that I've been rescuing and taking out of the shelters, some are getting Bordetellas, some are not. Some are getting microchipped, some are not. Some are getting, on the rabies vaccination, most of them are listed as a male when they're actually females. The females are listed as males, which is not a big deal because I can just go ahead and get a new rabies certificate. But what they're doing is they're just marking off the actual gender that they marked originally and then remarking, and that's a legal document. So when I bring it to the vet, I'm getting questioned on it. So that has to be definitely overlooked, a set of eyes, whatever it needs to be, but that has to be up to date. And then on the Bordetella, most of them are not getting, I know you and I have had a private conversation about the vaccinations, and I appreciated that. But when you're doing Bordetella for some and not for the others, the consistency is not there. And that's what we need to see more. So I believe in the rescues, correct? For all the rescues out there, right? Is just the consistency on the vaccines, and they're not being done. And then the two that I just pulled, Asher and Boots. Boots got tested today for parvo, came back negative, thank God. But he did not have a Bordetella done. He did not have a second booster, which he was in your care for longer than the period where he could have gotten one, and that wasn't done as well. So he just received his booster today with the lepto parvo, but he hasn't gotten any boosters. He got that one on that one date that he came in for intake, and then that was it. They're overlooked at that point. So the consistency has to be where it's always done for all the animals, not just one, and then skip 2 and then do the 3rd or 4th and skip the other 5 and then do the 10th. You can't. It has to be consistent. So if we're going to have a policy in place, then that should be something that needs to be on the ordinance as well. If we're going to do vaccinations for one, then we need to do vaccinations for all of them, so it's consistent, and there is no, citizens coming back and saying, well, this one didn't get this done, this one didn't get that done, and then it gets brought to our attention on the board.
Anybody else?
I'm done. Sorry.
So, and I flipped what I was saying on the agenda. I did that intentionally because I think with all the feedback, it actually goes into the next section better than vice versa. I guess back to, I'm pushing this, my term will be done in October. But when I looked back all the way to my very first meeting, the one thing I asked about then were SOPs. And that has just been when you do this and you volunteer your time and stuff like that, you want to at least leave this place a little better than you found it. That's pretty much everybody, or should be everybody's goal in life, no matter what you do. And I'll be honest with you, I was feeling real down and frustrated because I'm like, I'll give in 4 years and I'm not going to have left this any better than I found it if I don't try to do something. So, I mean, all this stuff has worked out, and I just want to talk a little bit about SOPs. And I think it's important to have a why. And I was looking up, I'm a research-based person. I'm not just going to go off whatever. But I really liked this that I found, but it was from the ASPCA or whatever, but it was just them talking about SOPs. And part of why I'm doing this, I'm not trying to think anybody doesn't know what SOPs are, but I think it's important that we talk about it in here first before I just ask for a subcommittee to be created. But the definition they had was really so simple. It said an SOP is a particular way of accomplishing something, a series of steps followed in a definite regular order. Its purpose is to ensure a consistent and routine approach to actions. So, looking at the benefits of it, this is strictly, from an animal welfare, animal shelter perspective. It makes it easier the benefits makes it easier for supervisors. So, to make sure things go well even when you're not there, because you can't be there for everything. And when you're not there, if something's done one way versus the right way when you are, then, there's that inconsistency for the staff. Instead of just being told, no, you're doing it wrong, it's there and it's listed. So it's a more positive approach to the correction of whatever. For the animals, it's a routine for health, care, sanitation, just that, they're going to be happier, better cared for, and hopefully get out of that building adopted quicker. For the community, we have amazing volunteers. We really do. And we have some good people. And for those people, and even the citizens coming in to adopt, or the citizens who try, there are people who try to do the right thing, but if you're not in animal welfare, sometimes you don't really know. I mean, pre-COVID, I'm gonna be honest with you, if I saw a stray dog, it was getting in the car, we're going to animal control. Now, if I see a stray dog that doesn't look hurt or doesn't look little, I roll down the window and literally yell at that dog, get your you-know-what home. I'm not stopping, because I know the situation that we're in, but the average citizen might not, understand that. And I think that having SOPs would just help them understand that better, whether it's the Citizen Stray Hold program or understanding what constitutes an emergency, because I understand now why, after hours, we don't do intake. But what is an emergency? A dog that just kind of looks skinny compared to my overweight dog at home is not an emergency versus, you know, a tiny puppy that can't fend for itself that might walk into traffic. So, and then it was just talking about what happens without SOPs. You know, there's possible injuries to people and perhaps animals, outbreak or spread of disease, mistakes including lost and found mistakes or even the wrong animal being euthanized, procedures based on folklore, not fact, or Bob's way of doing things, staff frustration and confusion, staff or volunteers creating their own policy because they don't like how the organization is doing things, decrease in agency credibility, organizational liability. And this is the thing too, I try to look at it from various standpoints. As a teacher, if the Board of Education starts micromanaging everything I do in my classroom, I'm gonna hate that. And I don't want this board to seem like somebody who's coming in and trying to micromanage animal control. We're not in the trenches every day. Well, some of us are, but you know what I mean. We have an array of people here that do different things, but I think everybody can bring something to the table. But I don't think that a subcommittee of us shouldn't just make all the SOPs for animal control. And that's what I really liked about what this was saying, is that if you're gonna do this and do it the right way, is you get feedback. You know, what works for Forsyth County animal control might work great for them. But you talk to an ACO here, and that same thing they're doing on their SOP might not work. So it's just getting feedback. I mean, even for Mr. Freddie, I mean, he's amazing. I love Mr. Freddie. But like when you're cleaning, what barriers are you hitting? You know, to find out. So then what can we do with writing these SOPs? So when I'm saying I would like a subcommittee to be enacted, I mean one where there's true, like we are all working together, all of us, not us sitting over here, not an us, them, not us sitting over here telling you how to run animal control, but us sitting down at the table, getting in some true work to come with a set of SOPs that, you know what, if there is something that doesn't work on one of them, then if there's kickback in citizen feedback, guess what? It's not just CACC administration. It's not just CACC staff. We all helped create that document. So we'll take your feedback, but we're also going to take some accountability with that we helped do this. And then, you know, moving forward, it's a living, working document. I mean, we do a new student handbook, you know, updated. It's the main stuff every year, but things change year to year. And I don't mean like, you know, writing something. I don't believe in recreating the wheel. If there is good stuff out there, then, you know, you've got some good stuff, I'm sure. I know you do. Bring it to the table. Let's do this subcommittee and do it the right way. You know, and I know there's a lot of brokenness among, and I'm just going, and I'm not hurting anybody's feelings here and stuff, but if I'm gonna talk what I feel from my heart. There's a lot of brokenness. And we have good people. We have good people at animal control. We have good people in our rescues. We have to find a way to work together. We have to, y'all. And nobody is always wrong and nobody's always right. They're not.
Absolutely.
And I will tell you this. If anybody's been around for a while, y'all will know me and this lady right here, there were times that we went at it. I mean, we did. And there were times that I was dead wrong for the things I said. But when we sat down and we talked it out, the love and respect I have for her, because of the grace she extended me back, we have this beautiful working relationship now. If I could tell you all the stuff she has done for my students, you would not believe it. Single-handedly. The two that got to work there last summer, if it wasn't for Miss Katrina, that would have never happened. But at some point, you know, I'm sure she didn't want to work with me at times. I wouldn't have wanted to work with somebody who said the things I said about her on Facebook sometimes. I'm going to be honest with y'all. If I'm going to say it, I'm going to say it. But we sat there and we kept working through it and we kept working through it. And eventually that trust, it came back. And y'all, it's going to take time. And I love our rescues here. I do. And I love animal control. Does that mean I always like y'all? No, I don't. Sometimes I get frustrated, you know. I mean, y'all have been to emails. We had, a whole 7 email thread about some limbs the other day. But it's okay. We can agree to disagree, but we have to find a way to work together. it's gonna take time to rebuild that relationship. That's just, and I gotta turn that over. I can't fix it. That's my kryptonite, is I try to fix things. I'm gonna leave that alone. But I think this SOP subcommittee, done the right way, would be a huge step in the right direction. So I don't want this to be a flex where we're saying, well, we have the ability, the ordinances say we can make a subcommittee if we want to. What's the point in that? You know what I mean? But if we bring it to the table like this, and we're gonna all work together, then it's not a flex. We're not, do you know what I'm saying? So that's why I wanted to preface all of that with, I want this subcommittee to happen, but I don't want it to happen the wrong way. I don't. And I don't even know the official thing I have to say. What do I have to say, Ms. Katrina, to try to get a subcommittee?
You just need to ask for volunteers
Okay.
who would want to be on the subcommittee from the board.
Do we have any volunteers that would like to be on the subcommittee and do it the right way? Start from fresh. I'm not talking about the old document.
Courtney.
I was about to say, do you have to be a board member to be on the committee?
Well, see,
I
but
wouldn't
that's
think you would have to be.
Well, but the
to be on
beautiful
it.
thing is, like, and this is just for me reading, through this, is that when you do it, there is a slow, but structured method to it. We would want to get feedback from our rescues. So a lot of the SOPs I'm reading, I was shocked. I didn't even know this. I started reading them from other counties and stuff. I didn't know that a lot of these other, they actually have a line item for the SOPs for rescues. Like, so it explains, there's one that even has a liaison between the shelter and the rescue. I mean, there's cool things, that I think we could do. So, I mean, I definitely think that anybody who's doing this the right way, like, let's say Ms. Johnson already has something in mind, and she brings it to the table, and she's like, I've been working on, whatever. Then Courtney, they're at Paul's, you have SOS who's done a ton of stuff with medical. You have Animal Arc who does, a ton of stuff with puppies and I think anybody who's smart is gonna, but again, we have to have that trusting relationship where we can agree to disagree sometimes, and we can't, it's gotta be okay. And then somewhere in the middle, we find the best option, because at the end of the day, y'all, we gotta be here for the right reasons. And I've had to check myself on that. So, I don't know, that was my moment, but do we have any volunteers for the subcommittee? I mean, I'd love for all of us to,
I mean, I can help, I don't know how much.
Ms. Johnson, you gonna jump in?
Oh,
there?
yeah. Well, let me also interject here as well. I had the opportunity to speak with Julie, and I didn't know that she was bringing this I knew she was bringing the SOPs, but I didn't know in what capacity. And I shared with her what I'm about to share with you. SOPs for any organization is critical. And so I've been doing research since I've gotten here. And one of the things that I've learned very quickly in some of let me back up. I actually participate in a animal welfare professional group that meets every other month. And it's a networking group of some of your top animal welfare individuals. And I'm talking about those from the Department of Ag, those that are in our Congress. I think people come from all over the state of Georgia. And what I shared with her was SOPs, we don't have to rewrite them. The will has already been created. All we have to do is take what parts best fit with us. And so I've reached out to some of those resources that I have the opportunity to work with and asked them for their SOPs. And once I get those, I would like very much to form a committee, and not just those on this advisory board, but those who we consider stakeholders. And that's anyone in this community that feels that is compelled to help in this matter, because it's not just about CACC, it's about the animals in the community of Columbus. And we need to get their feedback and then create, not recreate, but create what's best for Columbus. So I'm in total agreement I'm glad that we were on the same sheet of music, not knowing we were. But yes, I'm very interested in collaborating with those stakeholders to create something that's very solid that we can build on. This will be foundational, and then we just continue to build on what we already have to make it an even better direction, put us in a better direction.
Because I'm looking at every single bit of that, you know, the citizen feedback, and I'm like, if we had these SOPs in place, it answers that question, it answers that question, and then I just think it could be a good thing. So we have volunteers. What do we
So
need to do?
I got
Sorry.
Courtney, Jarrell, Shannon, Nancy, Laura, Ms. Johnson, and Julie. Okay. Is that it?
Robbie, you know you want to join, just do it.
He can't think straight
I
right
can't
now.
do it right now.
He can't do it right now, that's fine.
We'll give them a pass.
All right.
I was just gonna say, thank you, Julie, for bringing that forward, and I would like to also, mention that there are draft SOPs.
I looked
And
at those.
I think you have them.
I looked
Yeah,
at
yeah,
those.
yeah, I'm with you, I'm with you. But the problem with that draft is the process was never allowed to happen. And I say that in saying if we're gonna do this, allow the process to happen. Don't bring the politics into the process, because what happens is that we get pressures that are unfair to us as employees, and nothing gets done. Because we're busy responding to the politics of it all.
Yeah.
And you cannot imagine the amount of time she has to use and I have to use responding to the politics of it all. Let the process happen. If something's going on or something was written or said that you didn't like, don't go run off sending emails to everybody in the world. Let the process happen. And then once it's complete, come back with the concerns. And as a body, determine whether or not it's in the best interest of this community or not. But it is just unbelievable, the amount of time that we have to spend on open records requests, on responding to the politics of it all, and not being able to focus on the job.
Maybe we could do something, because I hear what you're saying.
So just
I'd
let the
like-
process happen is all I'm asking.
Maybe we could do something, because I know as citizens, and I appreciate you speaking from that point. I know as citizens, sometimes we're impatient.
Very much.
You know, you know, I know.
I said very much so.
And I'm gonna own it when I do it, and I get excitable, and I want an answer, and I want it right then.
Yeah.
And if I don't get it, then I'm gonna, so maybe what we can do to help with some of the transparency and just to help the citizens, maybe we can do, I don't even know, some kind of statement or update on this subcommittee, maybe every week, you know, like, if we're gonna have a meeting, you know,
They
we'll
do an
put it
update
out.
on where
Okay.
this.
And then
not a
just
problem
the
with that.
informal, you know,
Yeah, I
just
think that's
the,
perfect.
so that at least the citizens know it hasn't just fallen by the wayside. It's not one more thing we said, and I say we, I'm putting me in there. I'm not saying CACC, I'm
Right.
saying we, that we've said we were gonna do, and we show up for a couple meetings, and then things get hard, and then, you know what I mean?
Yeah, fight through it.
So maybe we can do that to help with some of the questions, so that citizens or groups know that we are consistently moving, you know, forward.
Where would we put that update?
I don't know, that's beyond my pay grade. Where would we put that update? Would that be a,
Well, you know,
Just-
again, we could definitely provide that type of information on the website. We're constantly working on updates and changes to the website. We can have a link that says, you know, advisory board, and you click on that link as it relates to animal control. And this is, I'm just thinking off the top of my
yeah,
head. And then, you know, updates, last meeting, you can
like a
see
little
it.
summary?
A little summary of whatever, and then subcommittees, what this subcommittee is working on, so forth and so on. So even if you don't get an opportunity to participate as far as coming to the actual meetings, you can always go online and click on that link to see what took place as a summary, or even as, however. But those are just some of the things that come immediately to mind as to keeping the transparency there and keeping our public informed of what we're doing as it relates to animal welfare with the advisory board.
Okay.
I have something to say about transparency and the way things are shared with the public. And I'm not trying to, I'm not trying to tick anybody off or anything like that. But in our communications, the board and the staff, you responded to Shannon's request, and you responded to Julie's request about certain subjects, was saying like, come to me in my office and stuff like that, which is fine, and there's certain need to do that. But if there's a way we can share the answers that you give them with the public so they'll be more aware of it. There's certain situations where people are ranting and raving on Facebook, and they wouldn't if they knew better, if there was more transparency. The social media came out of the lack of transparency. I'm fully believe in that. And so the more we can let the public know of exactly how things are being handled, the better it'll be. There'll be less open records requests because they'll already know what happened, and it'll streamline everything if they know everything up front, instead of being, it appears to be evasive to the outside viewer, but I know you're trying to control it in the proper way. But on the other side of it, if the public knows what's going on, they have less to complain about. Doesn't that make sense? I mean, I'm not trying to ruffle any feathers. I'm just trying to say.
I think I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
And I don't mean to speak for everybody.
No, go ahead.
I think there's, two sides of that. I think there's the one side that we all know. Y'all, Jesus himself could be director of animal control, and we all have to be honest. Some people would still rip him apart. Now, we have to be able to take that and put it where it needs to go. And then you're right, there are the people who have true legitimate questions that will help the process that they are concerned about. So maybe in the process of this subcommittee meeting, because I know what you mean, like, because there are certain things that I didn't, if, like, I'm just throwing something out, like almost triage questions, like, okay, when exactly are we gonna do, intake right now? So that kind of question is asked, or when are we not doing intake, or, some question that keeps coming up that's a fairly easy answer. It's not one that's gonna, nail you down on anything. But if there's something that we know that we're seeing over and over again, one I used to see all the time, y'all, was about those doors being dropped, the guillotine doors. Now, before I was in there, I had the same, why wouldn't you do that? That's an easy, simple fix. Once you were in that building and you see for yourself, I've seen a little cattle dog, a little fluffy cattle dog, literally bend one of those doors back, and it wasn't an aggressive dog. It just didn't want to be in there. So when you see, or what that would really do for that dog as far as the pee and poop be right there, or what that does for the person cleaning, because if we did that all the way around, who's going to hold a dog while you clean? But my point is, it wasn't a bad question that somebody posed. It's just, and I understand what y'all say, y'all can't necessarily respond. People can't respond and answer that question on social media. But if we know that answer, I don't feel like that's an inappropriate thing to answer. I mean, that's not going back and forth and being ugly to anybody. But and I could be naive here, but I'm truly hoping that if this subcommittee's created and that people, whether it be allies, rescues, just regular citizens, whoever, see that we are truly all working together to try to come up with something that's good, that can actually be implemented. That's the key, that you guys will, that some of that can subside a little bit. And that's a complete trust thing, y'all. I mean, I get it. That's like the fall, where you're going to lean back and either it's going to bomb out or it's not. And I really do. I have faith in this community. Even people that I've gone back and forth with too. I have faith that if we give this an honest shot, that it'll at least turn, and you can't get any worse, y'all. Yeah, I don't mean that ugly. Sure. We're rock bottom right now. I mean, but what I'm saying is, I know, but we're rock bottom as far as not working together. I understand that.
Well, I know a lot of things go back to in the community, and I don't mean to cut you off, and I apologize for that, but I know a lot of things go back and forth with when things are implemented, or we vote on something here at the table and then it gets swept under the rug and then we never see or hear about it again. Or we get the excuses of why we can't do something instead of the positive of it. So I understand, both sides as well, but more so on the community side. It gets tiring to keep coming to the meetings and wasting my time, basically saying, can we do this, can we do that? Yes, 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 we'll vote on it, yes. And then nothing ever gets done. Nothing's
So again, maybe
implemented.
this is
Right.
the litmus test, y'all. I don't know. I mean, but that's all I got, you know?
Kanita, the FAQs on the website is a really good idea. That will break down some of the traffic. That would be very helpful.
Will we just get together and decide on meeting time and date and that kind of stuff, Ms. Katrina? Is that how that?
Yeah, we'll need to make sure the schedules are free.
Yes, ma'am. So I can just
Darrell,
get-
you're gonna be on that committee, right?
No, I think that's,
I need to check your calendar.
to, just to back up a little bit.
Yeah.
Do you have to be on, so for the actual subcommittee, you need to be on the board, but what I heard was that you said you'd also like to have a committee with stakeholders that come in. Was that right? Or if I misspoke, correct me. You're not hurt my feelings.
No, I don't, I'm gonna be perfectly honest, I'm learning just like you as far as how subcommittees are created. So, my hope is that we will be able to bring in other
Okay,
stakeholders.
so that,
So
does that
whatever
something
that
I
looks
just
like,
need to sit down and research, Ms. Katrina?
I don't know what that looks like.
Okay.
I can just tell you what I've researched and found.
I mean, I would love that. I think that would be even better. But, go ahead.
No, I was just asking if we could get started as a board committee and then potentially bring other
Bring
people
out-
on
Yeah,
board.
yeah.
so let's
Yeah,
go ahead
I would
and.
do
So
that.
get your solid draft down and possibly, and then bring in the community to look at it, or your stakeholders, as you said, to look at it and make any recommendations, suggestions, whatever, and then go from there.
So would you all like to meet next month? This
Bring
month?
it in. I want to see you every week, Ms. Katrina. I mean, I guess we'll have to get together on.
Yeah,
y'all
you have to
schedule.
You have to
Right.
direct
Right.
schedule.
Right
Right now,
Yeah,
my
'cause
my
she's-
schedule
It's
is
full
full.
because she's got budget.
Yeah.
But would we be able, so like, if I wasn't able to attend one day, you guys could still,
I would hope so.
Yeah.
Okay.
so we could at least go ahead.
I would hope so.
And get it.
I would think we could put out some tentative dates to
'Cause I-
everyone to see what would be the first,
Because I
date
think
that
that,
we could
if you
possibly
want me to
do.
be honest, I think that's one thing that'll keep some of the pressure off, is if people see that we're doing something sooner than later, and that's just me being honest. I know that it doesn't always happen when people want it to, I understand. But at least if those of us who couldn't meet, not that we're drafting anything, but that we're just even doing something as simple as looking who, we would want to interview for barriers, like your lieutenant, for, just to get it going.
And Gerald, you mentioned budgets. Do we know when we'll hear back whether, she asked for a lot, which is great. Do we know when we'll hear back from council about that?
Yes and no, and I say it two-edged because there's more than one step in the process. So next week, I have my budget meeting with the mayor and the city manager, in which they go over my summary, everything that I submitted. From that perspective, I won't know anything until the mayor has submitted his draft budget, which tells me what they didn't accept. And then from there, I'll go before council, and I will present to them what was not accepted and explain my needs for those items to be in my budget.
What's the approximate timetable on that?
I'm not sure of the council meeting dates, but my budget meeting is next Thursday.
Okay. But I think every year they probably have a cutoff time.
I haven't been
Okay.
given a date yet, so I can't speak on that. But as soon as I know, trust me, you guys will know. But once that is done, then I won't know anything until it goes before council for voting.
So Kanita and I will get together and send out some tentative dates. Kanita?
And I would, I know that the majority of people that have volunteered to be on the committee, they work a full-time job. And so I don't expect that we would have any early morning meetings. I would think something around 3 or a little later when we do have those meetings, so. so that everyone could have the opportunity to attend.
Cool thing is, if we have a nice group, then, you know, one person not being there is not gonna be hit, you know.
Not gonna stop the flow. Absolutely.
Well, I thank all of you for openness on that, and hopefully
It's gonna happen.
it is.
That's it.
Close it.
What did I say a prayer?
Any other business?
Oh, I did have one other thing. What would we need to do if we were interested in changing the thing where the pause person was able to vote? That's a whole ordinance
That's
change.
a- that's an
Okay,
ordinance
I just,
change.
that was a question I
Has
had.
to be.
And that would be great to, once we get that committee for that.
Okay.
I'm just here.
No, but we don't want you to just be here. I mean, that's, you
Right.
know, that's,
That's an ordinance level.
okay. So that's for a later date. Here, 5 o'clock. Hope everybody has a good night. Look,
Is there any other?
any other
If
business,
there's
I'm
no
sorry.
other business, then I will adjourn the meeting.
There you go. If there's no other business, I'll adjourn the meeting. You can give me a gavel.
We need to get you
I got your one. I get your one.